So you just got done watching the fights. The kids are asleep. The wife's in the other room doing, well, what wives do.
Am I the only one that does this goddamn thing around here? How hard is it to pick up after yourself?
So decision time. You could either go in the other room and deal with,
After all I've done today, you expect me to wanna...
or keep it locked right here. Because it's time for the Billy C post-fight wrap-up on the BillyCBoxing.com network. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Billy C.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Triple G Martin Murray post-fight show. Glad you could join us. Fight just got done. Crazy broadcast, but listen, Triple G, there's no question about it, in my opinion. He's the best middleweight out there. And, you know, with all this talk about him, he needs to move up. He's not that big of a guy. I just don't understand when people say, he's got to move up. He's got to fight this guy. He's not that big of a guy. And I think that we saw that today against Martin Murray. Martin Murray was had a lot of heart. Too much heart for his own good. I wish his corner would have stopped that fight a little sooner. The other thing I think is that, if you listen to the broadcast, you would think that he was having a bad night, Triple G. You know, I didn't see it that way. You know, I saw some things it seemed like he was working on, in the gym I'm talking about, and was trying to apply it today against Martin Murray. But I didn't see anything to complain about his performance. I thought his performance was good, solid. This is a guy that shows that he knows what he's doing in the ring. He knows how to cut the ring off. He's in control. He's in control of the whole fight from the minute the bell rings until the fight is over. He methodically broke down Martin Murray. I think Martin Murray, the commentators are talking about him. Some other fighters are going to see some holes in his arsenal, and that now maybe that'll coax them. What are you talking about? What holes was in his arsenal? I just don't understand it. I think you got to give Martin Murray some credit for being better than maybe some people think. But like a lot of people that call into the show and a lot of guys that are part of the show, like Dax Khan, Alex Pali, they both felt that Martin Murray was going to give him Triple G a stern test, and I believe he did. Phone line is open. What's your thoughts? 845-228-8710. We want to hear from you. The way it's scored, the way I scored it is I gave every single round to Triple G except for the second round. I think my card was similar to Harold Letterman's, which they're still talking about doing the punch stats, even though the punch stats were happening in New York, and Harold Letterman was in New York. I think that Roy Jones Jr. And Jim Lampley have to go. Come on. I mean, come on. You know, I thought they did. That had to be one of the worst, I think, performances by both of those guys in a real long time. But listen, the phone lines are starting to rock and roll here. We're going to take one caller at a time. So if someone's on the line, just try back again. We got a caller on the line right now. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Billy C. This is Chris from Tampa.
Hey, Chris.
I called in again. I called for the first-time call on the Severn fight.
Cool. What's up, Chris? What'd you think of this fight?
Amazing. Brilliant. Exciting. No other really way I can describe it. It was just phenomenal from the first round all the way to the 11th, though I thought it should have been stopped a little earlier, but incredible.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it bother you kind of? I mean, listen, we all love the sport. We know it's a hurt me sport. But the truth of the matter is, doesn't it bother you a little bit when the corner is, like, so tough for the fighter? Why he literally is getting his ass kicked from one end of the ring to the other. And, I mean, what was it? I think it was the fourth round when he got dropped with the two body shots. And then the fifth round when his whole face got all busted up. Martin Murray, I mean, really, from that point on, the guy just took a severe beating for the rest of the fight.
You couldn't be more correct, Billy C. Like, that's exactly how it was. But I think for some reason, I don't know if you've seen the conference when Martin Murray was talking about the fight. He said he had a vision. He was going to beat Billy C. Like, man, this guy is made out of something else. Iron, whatever you want to describe it. He is tough. And the corner should be taking care of him. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes your corner's got. Listen, Harold Letterman said it right. After you add up the score, after a certain point, and listen, I think Triple G made a statement. You remember the round? I think it was maybe the 9th or 10th round. I forget which one it was. When Triple G basically let him hit him. It was like 2 or 3 times, square in the face.
He gave the shrug.
Did nothing.
Yeah.
Didn't even affect the guy. At that point in time, if it's my fighter, I stop the fight. Why make my fighter go just get beat up anymore? You couldn't affect them.
You could see little fragments of frustration because that turtle shell defense of Murray was just so compact, but a little bit of frustration from GGG. But you can tell that he's giving this guy the battering of his life. I mean, I won't be surprised if Murray, lost some brain cells this fight. I mean, GGG, well, you said it earlier in the show that he's complete control of the fight, and he's destroying this guy on television. Everyone can see him. It is a little poor that the corner wasn't taking care of Murray, but again, it goes to show that this guy is tough as nails. And people that are complaining, I've seen already a little bit in the chat room, that they're saying that the fight was stopped a little too early or it stopped at the wrong time for the stoppage. I don't agree. It should have been stopped earlier. GGG never fell out of his element. He was kicking his butt, essentially.
Listen, the bottom line is, the only way you keep a fight going, right, if your guy's getting beat up like that, the only way is if your fighter is a knockout puncher and he's got a chance to knock out the opponent. Triple G was showing no signs of being hurt, at all. I mean, listen, they needed to stop the fight. And one thing I want to say before we take some other callers is that, I know it seemed to me, the only knock I could, if I have to find something on Triple G for this fight, it seemed like he was trying to work too hard with the uppercuts. Some of them just like weren't landing where I think he wanted. But the one thing Triple G does really well, even with a turtle shell defense like Martin Murray was displaying, he still is able to get around those gloves and land hard shots. They did the damage. I think you could tell just looking at Murray's face.
Yeah, he was getting destroyed. I mean, I was just complete shock of just how his face, the swelling, and those big knockdowns in the 4th round, obviously those big body shots. Amazing he kept going after those. I know how bad those hurt. But then I think it was the 9th or 10th round when he landed that big shot, that big hook, and he fell over really dramatically. And then, of course, it might have been the 10th round when GGG lets him take the shots and he shrugs him off. And then the 11th round, the stoppage comes, and I thought, well deserved. GGG there was no way that Murray could possibly win that fight. It just goes to show that he was just really tough, made out of something else, and kept going. I give him props for that, but the corner should be more responsible.
Exactly, I agree with you 100%. Chris, thanks for the call, brother.
Yeah, take care, Billy C. Love the show, love the chat room. Take care.
Great, thanks. I appreciate it, man. My man from Tampa, another Tampa viewer. Phone line is open as long as somebody's not on it. Feel free to call like you can right now. So if you got a comment, question, concern, 845-228-8710. I had the score 99-88 at the time of the stoppage going into the 11th round. I thought the referee, Louis Pabon, did a great job stopping the fight. I'm not so sure he did a great job during the fight. I saw some things that... he was waving off other guys. He's doing this to other people in the fight, like past the fighters, like the fighters are looking at him like, what? And then did you ever hear such a 10-second warning? I mean, nobody knew what the hell it was. Dax is on the line right now. What's up, brother?
What's going on?
What'd you think?
I thought it was a masterful performance, and it amazes me already. The people, and I was saying this on our social media feed, already, once it got, matter of fact, my comment was, Martin Murray's going to the 8th round. Here come the flood of tweets that say Triple G's been exposed. He hasn't been exposed. He showed that he can go the distance if he wanted to, and against a top middleweight. All of a sudden now, Martin Murray's going to be overrated. All of a sudden now, the fight with Martinez, yeah, he got shorted, but it wasn't the right Martinez. Of course, in Germany with Felix Sturm, everybody knows Felix Sturm always gets the gifts. Nothing surprising about that. You got Triple G looked tired. Triple G has that look a lot in a lot of his fights. He went in there and he boxed beautifully. Sometimes, the only thing I did see in there is sometimes he was looking for that big looping shot. And, Martin Murray's, earmuff defense, it's kind of hard. That's a hard defense for anybody. Not that he does it as well as, but think about Winky Wright. He had that same thing. When you get them hands up there high and tight, it's hard to knock a guy like that out or even hurt him when you get around there. But as soon as he hit that body, though, he went down. And Triple G, Abel Sanchez has been saying this for a while, and that he needs to get some rounds in there. We don't want a guy that, gets too used to blowing everybody out. And that's exactly what happened tonight. Remember this, not too long ago, there was another big puncher that fears everybody above 168 pounds, that puts fear in everybody above 168 pounds. They said wasn't going to do anything against Hopkins except get out box. And what he do for 12 rounds? He put on a masterful performance, just like Triple G did tonight.
You're right. First of all, I thought that Triple G did get around the earmuffs. I thought that those shots, they may not have looked. You have to remember that was coming from Monte Carlo, so the video might have been just a little slow. It seemed like everything seemed a little slow to me, but I thought that he was hurting Martin Murray, and you got to give him credit. He's a strong, tough guy. But to say that he's exposed, for Jim Lampley to suggest that other fighters are going to see some chinks in his armor. I look at it like this. All of a sudden, everybody's losing Triple G's phone number at this point. I mean, come on. And talk about ring generalship, okay? We always say, people say, what's an example? Triple G is an example. He knows how to cut the ring off. He's constantly putting his opponents where he can get to them. And the best thing he did tonight, as far as showing me ring generalship, was when he knew that Martin Murray was going to try to clinch, and he stepped backwards. Usually fighters, and Max, the only guy that's coming out and emerging as a solid guy on the HBO team is Max. Max says, hey, he steps out of harm's way. Most people would get excited and go forward. He takes a step back, so Martin Murray couldn't hold on, and then he nails a few more punches. That's ring generalship.
Absolutely. One thing... first, what you were saying about how it kind of looks slow. It's interesting you notice that because on social media, there were some people from overseas in Europe that seemed to be talking about something that happened that we've seen here on our screens about 10 seconds later. So maybe that could be the thing because of the location. There was a little bit of a delay. But, also with the holding, what was crazy about that is not only was Martin Murray, doing the old Ricky Hatton 1-2 and holding in close, but when Triple G was pulling out, he was holding his arms in there. Triple G's arms were extended. It was like a little kid who didn't want his mother to go out the door, just holding on there, saying, no, Ma, don't go. It's just very, and the low blows that Martin Murray was getting away with. Triple G never complained once.
What are you looking at my notes? That's exactly what I was just going to say. The exact same thing you just said. I was going to say, how fighters, they get a low blow, they look at the ref, they cover up their balls, they do this, they do that, they he didn't complain once, and he was getting some low blows. You are 100% right. I just wrote this down as notes to say to you, and you beat me to the punch. So great assessment, because I saw the same thing. And listen, I totally disagree with Lampley. I think that Triple G did not show any kinks in his armor. I think that he showed exactly what he always does, that he's in charge, and that there's nobody in the middleweight division that's going to beat him. They're talking about, I heard all kinds of rumors yesterday, a lot of rumors that are probably going to materialize now, but that the next opponent for Triple G is Willie Monroe. And I said that does nothing for Triple G. He's going to kill Willie Monroe, kill him, literally kill him in the ring. And I love Willie Monroe, but but he is no way, shape, and form ready for Triple G. I also believe that Triple G is a small guy, Dax. He didn't even weigh 159. He comes in at 158.9, and you could see that he was a small guy in there. Listen, I know I was saying last week that he should move up and fight Andre Ward and stuff, but you know what? He's going to be way smaller if he fights, and forget about 175. I can't see him at 175.
No, he's definitely a small middleweight. Matter of fact, I think we spoke about this on the show before. And it wasn't really like an overly long time ago, but as an amateur, he had fought as a welterweight, or I believe even a little bit lower than a welterweight as an amateur, and he doesn't have a big frame on him. No. So he's not a guy that you're going to see move up, in the divisions. You're not going to see him go to super middleweight, light heavyweight, and then cruiserweight. But the thing is, too, a lot of people, what the biggest mistake, Bill, is people get caught up in the announce team, they get caught up in the crowd. Triple G, and this has been discussed by a lot of people in the past, he rolls with a lot of those punches, so they really don't get that flush look. The other thing with him is he kind of swells a little bit early with punches that aren't that hard because he has those high cheekbones. Matter of fact, my 11-year-old said that to me. He goes, "Oh, he's swelling up easy, but he's got those high cheekbones."
I didn't see,
and and that's a fact.
I didn't see really. I saw a little mouse by his eye, but for the most part, I thought he looked better in this fight than he usually does.
You know what? Because of that little mouse, the people that are looking for that tiny little thing to discredit him, that little mouse to them, that might as well be the Hasim Rahman, third head coming out of him, in the Holyfield fight or something, or it might as well be Fernando Vargas' eye after the Mosley fight. When people are looking for something to pick apart, they're going to pick apart the slightest little thing.
Listen, after round 5, Martin Murray was busted up. And, when you see the wives or girlfriends just like, totally, beside themselves because they're watching their guy get destroyed, it's time. I really think, just like our last caller, Chris, I really think that the corner should have stopped that fight. Probably. Listen, I would have probably stopped it around the 9th or 10th, but after that knockdown, after the 10th, there's no way that they should have let him go back out for the 11th. And I think that the referee did the right thing. He waited for something to happen, and I think he saved Martin Murray from getting hurt. And I'm not so sure he's not going to have the repercussions from that fight anyway.
That's very possible because that is the type of beating. It's a sustained beating. Even if would have went the distance, that sustained beating is the one that takes it out of people. We know that. There was somebody on social media who had said about, I hope Murray makes it to the final rounds. He deserves it, and that was in the 9th. And I had said something about sure, but maybe his kids would like him not to stutter, and his wife would like to not have to take care of him in a couple of years. But what fight I thought about real quick is listening to his corner and what they were saying. I think it was at the end of the 8th round, how you're coming back, you're getting back into this, keep doing what you're doing. And I thought about years ago, the Vitaly Klitschko versus Danny Williams fight, when Danny Williams is taking a horrendous beating and his corner is going, "You got him where you want him now, Danny boy. Keep doing what you're doing." Yeah. And Danny's about freaking dead.
Right. I always laugh when the corners say that. You got him right where you want him. You're like, what are you? And they look at him like, what are you talking about? Are you sure you sure you're watching the same fight? But I listen. I thought Triple G had a great performance. I think the most comical line was Jim Lampa. I'm sure there's other world-class middleweights out there now thinking that they got a shot at Triple G after this performance. I'm like, what is he talking about? I thought it was solid. I think he shows that he's more than just a power punch. He's very smart. He was giving us a little head movement. Like I said, to the last caller, the only thing, if you want to pick him, you want to find something negative, the only thing I'm going to find is some of the uppercuts just seemed like they weren't landing where he wanted. And in between one of the rounds, Abel Sanchez said, listen, I want it here, not he was telling him that he was landing his uppercut in the wrong spot. But when he landed 4 uppercuts in a row, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, definitely. Why he was doing that, we don't know. We don't know what was going on in his mind. Maybe he was just so relaxed in there. Maybe, he was thinking in there. Maybe he was working on that. We don't know. We'll know answers to that in another fight down the road. The one thing I hope that doesn't happen, and this is what happened in the Kovalev fight, leading up to Kovalev-Hopkins, everybody said Hopkins is going to pick him apart. On the conference call I was on, and I spoke about this on the show, where the last words of Kathy Duba in the final conference call with the media was, I hope after this fight, the media and fans don't start saying, Sergey beat a 49-year-old man, no big deal. He should have. And that's exactly what they did. Meanwhile, before then, Hopkins was, the favorite according to everybody. He was ranked in the top 3 pound for pound at the time. I just hope right now, not that Martin Murray's on the level of Bernard Hopkins, but he's a darn tough fighter. He's a good fighter. Yes, you can argue he technically might have been undefeated, depending on how you look at it off paper. And, I just hope now all of a sudden his stock doesn't drop and people start, getting on Martin Murray and acting like, what, he was never any good anyway. He was there for the picking. We knew this was going to happen because Martin Murray deserves better than that because he put up a very good performance tonight and he deserves credit for what he did, even though he was on the wrong side.
I agree with you, brother. Listen, thanks for the call. We got other callers popping in, so we'll give them a shot, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you later in the week, my man.
All right. I look forward to hearing what everybody has to say. Have a good one, everyone.
Take care, Dax. Yesterday, Dax and I were spread across the state. He was down south in New York, and I was north, both of us covering some fights, so we both have a lot of stuff to talk about. Phone line is open, 845-228-8710. Give a shout-out to Helen. I see she's in the chat room. Helen's from Ireland. We got the worldwide audience here. I love that stuff. But anyway, 845-228-8710. I know a bunch of callers were calling. I only answer one person at a time, so if you're trying to call in, call back when it's open, like now. I think this is my man Mike. What's up, brother?
Hey, Billy. I didn't think I was going to get in. I'm very happy that I got in.
Well, that's good, man. What'd you think of the fight?
I loved it. It's how a fight should be. I mean, I was at work all day waiting for this fight and just anxious all day, and then I came home and turned on TV, and it was entertaining from the first round to the 11th. I thought that the fight should have been stopped earlier. Murray's a really tough guy. I thought GGG looked great. And he does get hit a lot, but, man, it has no effect on him. He just walks through everybody. I love it. Love the guy.
Listen, how could they my big hang-up of the broadcast tonight was, how could they say that he didn't look good? That there was chinks in his armor. That other middleweight. If I'm another middleweight, I'm saying, you know what? I don't want to. I'm talking to Willie Monroe's team yesterday at Turning Stone, and they're saying, "Oh, we like to fight. And I'm saying to myself, listen, that's great that the fighter wants to fight, the trainer wants to fight, but let's be real. I love Willie Monroe, and I think he's going to be a future world champion, no question. But he's not ready for Triple G. Triple G is there's not a middleweight out there that's going to beat Triple G.
I agree. And earlier you said something. Dax said something about low blows. I called that out in the first time I saw one, but he didn't complain once.
Not once.
He kind of went down a little bit once, but he didn't look at the referee. He didn't do anything. He just kept coming after him. And that's got to be so discouraging if you're Murray and you're just getting pounded on the whole fight, and you land some low blows, and the guy keeps coming. Man, that's got to suck to be Murray.
And he never changes the expression on his face. And I thought that somebody said I don't know if somebody said it during the broadcast or if Dax said it or if Chris said it, that they thought, I think Dax said he thought that other people were saying that he was getting tired. I didn't see that. I saw maybe after the first or second round he seemed to be breathing hard, but I think that was more adrenaline. I don't think it was fatigue at all. And credit to Martin Murray, despite the ass kicking he was getting, I didn't really see that he had much fatigue either. I think he was in really good shape. And we're talking about arguably, a legitimate, top 5, top 6 world middleweight in Martin Murray. And Triple G pretty much had his way with him. I mean, with the exception on my scorecard, I gave Martin Murray the second round. That was it.
Yeah, he beat Martin Murray the whole fight with the exception of the second round. I do agree with you there. And I didn't think I saw Triple G get tired at all. he was winded he was throwing a lot of punches. He threw almost 900 punches in 11 rounds. Isn't that a lot for a middleweight?
Listen,
they're power punches.
Those punch stats are it's such bullshit, because the bottom line is this. Jim Lampley, I used to like Jim Lampley. I thought Jim Lampley used to do a great job, but he's lost his ability to call a fight. He's not able to call what he's actually seeing. He's too busy looking at those punch stats and other things. And when I found out that the punch stats and Harold Letterman was sitting somewhere in New York and they're watching the fight over here ringside in Monte Carlo, come on, man. Come on. You can't listen. When you're at a fight, boxing really is the only sport like this. It's such a different view when you're sitting ringside than when you are watching on television. And I'll tell you another thing. It's even different watching ringside than if you are, 20 rows back. It's totally different. So you can't call a fight from a broadcast perspective, as good as you can ringside. You can't, and especially counting punches.
Right. I believe you.
Well, man, listen. Overall, who's going to beat Triple G? Who do you think? Anyone?
No one's going to beat Triple G. No one. And you know what? He is a small guy. Murray looked a lot bigger than him tonight, at least it seemed to me. So I don't think he should be rushed up to fight Andre Ward at 168. However, I don't see Ward dominating him at all. Like everyone else is saying, this fight proves that he'll lose to Andre Ward. I don't think that at all. And my final thought is I love the fight. Is what boxing should be all about. I was excited all day. I saw a pretty good fight. It was one-sided, but I loved it. And that was it. And you have a good day. All right, Billy?
All right, Mike. Take care, brother. That's my man, Mike. You can catch him during the week, too. If you're watching or listening live on a stream, come on into the chat room. Check it out on BillyCBoxing.com. You can log in with a Facebook or Twitter account pretty easily. There is a lot of talking, and I, for one, I know I was talking with my girl Gina. Give a shout out to Gina Caruso, one of the raging babes. She was sitting next to me yesterday at the Turning Stone, and one thing that we were talking about, possibly Triple G and Andre Ward. Personally, I think that I think that if Triple G fights Andre Ward right now, if Andre Ward does not have a tune-up fight or so to shake off some of the ring rust, I think Triple G beats him. And the reason is because of what we saw tonight. Not an overabundance of any flash or anything like that, but the ring generalship of Triple G would pose. I'll tell you what, it would interest me to see how Andre Ward, who's a great boxer and a guy who controls the ring himself, but the thing that Triple G does so subtly is he's able to cut that ring off. A fighter tries to pivot away and get out of harm's way, and they go to take that sidestep away, and bam, there's Triple G. They're right there. He's right in front of them. And he just walks them down. He cuts the ring off. They're fighting in these phone booths. It just seems like everything goes the way Triple G wants. He never gets excited. He never loses his cool. I've never seen him hurt. There were a couple of low blows that, may have stunned him or may have at least shaken his confidence a little bit, which he never let on. Listen, the guy is phenomenal. He brings excitement to the sport. You could see it with the fans and all that stuff. Phone line is open, 845-228-8710. Not sure who we can look ahead for as a possible opponent for Triple G at this point. I mean, I guess, here I am, they were talking about yesterday up at the heavyweight Boxino tournament about the possibility of Willie Monroe fighting Triple G at the Turning Stone, which would be great for me, because I would be ringside for that, I'm sure. And the bottom line is, on one hand, I'm like, Triple G would kill the kid. On the other hand, who else is out there for him? I mean, there was talk about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., but Chavez Jr. is moving up in weight. He can't possibly get back down to middleweight. If he does, that's great. And, it would be an interesting fight. Two Chavez's, because Abel Sanchez looks at Triple G as a Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. Clone fighting a similar style. So it would be interesting to see how they went. But Chavez Jr. is not fighting at middleweight anymore. So I don't know who's left. Obviously Miguel Cotto. I'm sure you don't want to see Sergio Martinez in there, but Miguel Cotto, he's a middleweight champion. Put him in there. How about what's his name? Daniel Jacobs, if you want to see him get slaughtered, throw him in there. The winner of whoever wins the IBF belt, they're talking about maybe Sergio Mora against possibly Willie Monroe or Sergio Mora against somebody, or you got Hasim Nadam, that fight, the winner of that fight. Any of those guys. I think Triple G will have their way with. I think it's kind of a problem for Triple G that he is so dominating because he's going to have, number one, lack of opponents willing to fight him, and because of the lack of opponents and the lack of the big names, he's going to miss out financially. I think what we may see is him fight every 3 or 4 months and just stay busy, and whoever's willing to get in the ring with him, I'm sure they will. So 845-228-8710. You're listening to the Billy C. Triple G Martin Murray post-fight show. Don't forget we do a daily boxing talk show 2 hours a day. It's so cold here I can't even talk. There's like this blizzard going on outside the studio here, but and it's like blowing right through the window. But we got our daily show, the Talking Boxing with Billy C. show, every day, 2 hours from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live on BillyCBoxing.com, and as well as Radio Dial near you. You check your local radio listings, or you could check us out on YouTube. We do air live on YouTube, but our shows are also put up there. And as you recall, if you are a daily listener to the show, we called the announcement of you-know-who against Manny Pacquiao 24 hours before everyone else did. Alex Pali is on the line right now. What did you think, man?
I thought it was pretty impressive. I was very surprised that Murray gave, for a while, as good as he got. But he just didn't seem to have any the power needed to sort of put a couple of wrinkles in Golovkin's attack. And again, Golovkin just continues to impress. He really is a very complete offensive machine. Those body punches, oh God!
But he's not. I don't think he's lacking in defense either. He was showing us some upper body and head movement, which, to be honest, I don't recall seeing him do much, and he seems to move just enough so a punch that seemingly lands is not landing flush. And I agree with you to a point about the Martin Murray giving as good as he got. He did seem like that in the early rounds, but he wasn't given enough where I could give him the round. You know what I mean? I was looking for rounds to give him, and, I agreed with Harold. I gave him the second round. I teetered on a couple other rounds, but, Triple G, landed 1 or 2 more punches to me, significant punches, I should say, to me that gave him the round. So I only, on my scorecard, Alex, I had only given Martin Murray 1 round at the time of the stoppage.
Really, yeah. I thought 3 were close. I did give him 2. And one of them, the reason why I thought I was most impressed was, I think it was the 8th or 9th that he seemed to, it was a close round. But you're right, a lot of them could have gone Golovkin's way, just because even if Murray would land 2 or 3 nice shots, and one of the things he was catching him with were right hands on his way in. And that's what I mean. I don't mean like his defense is terrible, but he's not unhittable. You can catch him, and part of that is because he is so aggressive, and he does have a hell of a chin. He did, walk right through some straight right hands from Murray that, made some redness on his cheeks, but that's all. He looked like, he had a light jog around the block. He never really seemed damaged at all from any of the shots, and meanwhile, Murray was being, clearly diminished each round. So it was impressive, and I'm glad that Lampley pointed out that, with that win, he does sort of, tie that Tyson knockout streak. I mean, it's not ridiculous to talk about Mike Tyson when you talk about Golovkin, just because it is something similar in the sense that this guy's delivering knockouts. That's what people want to see. I mean, boxing is about violence, and Golovkin delivers violence.
Yeah, and the defensive part with him, Alex, and I was saying this earlier too, he rolls with the punch enough where even if it appears to land, and that was my point about, Lampley, he put so much emphasis on the punch stats, and I feel negatively about that, as you know. But to take it even further, if they're not ringside, how do you put the emphasis?
I agree completely.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to make a subjective opinion. There we go with that word again. But at least be ringside and be subjective. Show me I'm wrong because I'm watching on TV. Don't watch it on TV. Then get it through your headset that they're scoring it this way, and then comment. He's the one that's sitting there, and I just don't think that that those stats are accurate when, from a defensive standpoint, like Triple G, he turns his head just slightly, he sees the punch coming. When he was in close and he was doing some of his head movement, I never saw a fighter in recent times. Maybe it was just the camera angles or what, but I never saw a fighter in recent times who had the look of he was seeing. I mean, you know how they say, oh, he saw every punch coming. You could see him seeing every punch coming. You know what I mean? I mean, did you notice that? Because I did on the way I was watching it through DirecTV.
Yeah, he does seem. Yeah, there are times where he does seem to have this sort of uncanny sense of where punches are coming from. Yeah, he is. It's like he's always watching. He's a smart fighter. He's not just a slugger. And some of those punches come from such odd angles. He landed that strange overhand looping left hook a couple of times that finished off Marco Antonio Rubio, and Murray would roll away from it, but it never put him down. But again, it comes from such an odd angle, and the way he turns over his right hand to the body, I mean, he really generates an incredible amount of power. He's got some of the best shoulder snap, I think, in the sport right now. And yeah, that was one thing I was surprised by, was how small he looked. But I still think that someday we will be talking about him fighting Kovalev at 175 or maybe even a catch weight. I don't think that's unheard of because, they already spar, and from what Abel Sanchez has said, Golovkin's got the better of Kovalev in sparring. But yeah, it does look like he's got some growing to do.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I know they say that and stuff, but, I realized how small he was when he fought Daniel Geale, because Geale's a small guy. He's not big. And Martin Murray, to me, is like an average middleweight. I mean, that's what middleweights look like, and he looked way bigger than Triple G. I could see Triple G going and fighting at 168, maybe fighting an Andre Ward for a money fight. I think they're trying to really set that up. But Sergey, I don't know, man. I just think he's too big and too strong. And like Sergey Kovalev, Alex, Triple G is multi-dimensional more than I think a lot of the casual fans give him credit for. Everybody has this, especially when you listen to guys like Jim Lampley and Roy Jones talking about the knockouts and this and that. Oh, he's got 19 in a row now. He's got the most knockout percentage in the history of middleweights, and they paint this picture that he's a killer. He comes after you and just kills you. And that's not the case. I think he's way more talented than just a power puncher.
Yeah, he's definitely a thinker, and that was one of the things that I had tweeted, was that I was surprised, especially in the first round, that he didn't come out as aggressively as he did versus Matthew Macklin, against Daniel Geale right off the bat. It seemed like and maybe that was because he was facing. He must have known, this guy was almost middleweight champion. He's bigger than most of the guys I've fought. So let me see what he has first. But the feeling out process, by the last minute of the first round, he was putting the screws to him. So, I don't know. I mean, it's really enjoyable to watch him developing each fight, and yeah, he does look really destructive.
Another thing I notice about Triple G that I really, really love, he never takes a step backwards. Very rarely does he take a step back. He's always moving forward. Even if he's getting hit, he resets really quickly and turns the tables on his opponent. He just he controls the fight. He controls the fight from start to finish. Similar to, I keep comparing him to Kovalev. I think there's a lot of similarities between the two. And if you look at both of those fighters, who else is like that in any weight division? The bigger names, even a Manny, we all know Floyd, goes backwards a lot. Manny, he goes back way more than Triple G, so I don't know. I think he's a complete fighter, and I wish we had a deeper pool of middleweights because I think we would enjoy him more. I think the lack of middleweights in the division overall, or quality middleweights, I should say, is going to kind of ruin it for us to really see him. I mean, you start going through the list. I mean, who's going to really give him a chance? I mean, a challenge. Who's going to challenge Triple G in the middleweight division?
Yeah, right now I think it's going to be interesting to see who they. I mean, if it's not Cotto next, it will be sort of a bit of a place filler of a fight. Just still waiting for Cotto to decide what's going to happen. And even that one, I mean, I don't see Cotto posing a lot of problems for Triple G. And I wouldn't be surprised if Top Rank is, or Cotto's people, whoever, is not thinking the same thing. And that's one of the reasons why that fight, is taking its time there. I don't know. I mean, I'm still surprised we didn't get Cotto Canelo. I really wanted that fight. Cotto's in a bad spot because, I would not be in any hurry to fight Golovkin. At the same time, Sergio Mora, I don't think would be a horrible fight for Golovkin, only because Mora, like we talked about, recently after he fought on Friday Night Fights, he's not all that fun. But I think it would be interesting to see how Golovkin handles that, a guy who's really defensive. Is he able to take him apart? I think he probably would, but I think that's something that would be worthwhile to see. It's not, the undisputed championship that we would get if he fights Cotto, but it would be something. I mean, you're right. Looking at the otherwise, what do we have? We have Andy Lee. We got Felix Sturm. There's not a lot of other guys. There's Peter Quillen, but most of the guys either he's already beaten or just wouldn't. I mean, Sergio Martinez.
Come on, you couldn't personally.
That's not going to happen.
You couldn't personally. You couldn't personally handle that. That would rip you apart. You still shed tears over the last beating he took.
Well, I've recovered from the Cotto beating, but I do think that the only way Martinez would do it is he'd have to have a warm-up fight first. So we're looking at least being 6 months away.
And he's 40.
It probably would not be a smart thing for him. If he ever even fights again. So. It's tough looking at the top 10 middleweights because there's not a lot there for him.
The Sergio Mora fight, Sergio Mora looked. I never liked him. He was always boring and everything. But his last fight, he just lunged. He looked old. He looked like an old version of Sergio Mora, and I can't see him doing anything to Triple G. Triple G just controls the ring too much. I think he destroyed Mora easier than he destroyed. I think Martin Murray. I was reluctant to admit it prior to the fight. All you guys were saying that he was going to be the toughest test, and I chuckled to myself. But I have to admit, I think you were all right. I think that Martin Murray was the toughest test, and I don't see another one. That just to comment my comment on Cotto. Cotto. the reason why he's got this second wind, so to speak, is because he likes fighting aggressively. I think that's why he and Freddie Roach are working well together, and they're not going to change. That's Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach's, style is what we see. He wants his fighters to come forward and be offensive minded and everything else. That's exactly what Triple G wants you to do. I mean, if you're coming at Triple G, you don't have a chance. Martin Murray stayed in there for 11 rounds because he was moving around, and he was staying out of harm's way, and we're saying that, and I'm sure he's not going to even look like himself in a few hours. So and that was being able to move around. I can't see Cotto doing that.
Yeah, I mean, what Murray would have had, what he needed to, at least try to gain some ground would be a little more power, and to at least get Golovkin's respect, or to get it to sort of keep him outside, so that he could get some shots off. He clearly, there was no way to slow him down. So you're right. I mean, who would be able to keep him on the outside? The only way, maybe, like a defensive, like a counterpuncher, in the sense of, Mora can do some of that. But yeah, I don't know if he would be able to hold up against the power of Golovkin. I mean, I can't think of anybody Sergio Mora has fought that is as damaging a puncher. So yeah, I mean, I don't. And again, it wouldn't be. It's not like I'm not drooling over Golovkin Mora. That's for sure. But but I don't think it's a horrible fight.
But you know what fight might make a little more sense. And I'm not. Don't get me wrong, because I don't think he's great or anything like that. But he can take a punch, and he does have power, and he is pretty big for a middleweight. And you mentioned him a few minutes ago, Peter Quinlan. Peter Quinlan is a guy who obviously doesn't have the experience that Triple G has, but he is much bigger. And like I said, he can, he's got some pop, and he's shown us that he's got a solid chin. Maybe that would be an interesting fight to see, how Triple G handles a guy that's, got substantial power. I don't really, I guess Stevens, right? I mean, he has fought some people with power, but I don't know if he's fought anybody as big as Quinlan.
No. Quinlan would be an interesting test in that sense of size, but I think Golovkin's got him in skill, and it would. I think he would get him out of there quicker than Murray.
Yeah.
But you're right. It would be interesting to see with the just the size factor. How does he handle him?
One last thing I wanted to ask you: did Louis Pabon do the right thing?
Definitely. It would have been nice if the corner did it. You're right. I think that I think we see it too often where the corner's braver than the fighter.
Max said it.
Not necessarily braver, but is just willing to take more risks with the fighter's brains, and that's unfortunate.
Max said it. He was saying, what do you got to do? Or maybe no, I'm sorry. Harold Letterman said it. He said, you can't add it up. I mean, he needs a knockout at this point. Save your fighter. And what Max said is, he might have, they're letting him go on, and they may be ruining him down the road. And I think he made a good point. And that was the only time I thought Roy Jones said something intelligent, as he said, "You're right. That's taken a lot of toll on him, Max." And Roy knows that from experience. I thought Roy was weak tonight. I really did. I thought he was extremely weak. And Jim, am I being too critical? I mean, Jim Lampley, I say he's lost the ability to call fights that's happening in front of him. I mean, is it just me, or is he getting worse and worse?
Yeah, I think when they have their golden child, he does fall into this sort of cheerleading mode where, if he said big drama show one more time, I was going to kick in my TV. I like it too, but let's not run it into the ground. But now I guess they're using it as a hashtag for a concert or contest or something. So they're going to run it into the ground.
We're going to hear it again and again and again. I mean, geez, this social media is starting to really wear on me, you know. But
and they even got Golovkin. He's quoting himself. Even he said it again. It's like, oh, you guys like that? But yeah, the interview was sort of painful. I mean, it does sound like kind of like word salad, where because it's very clear that some of the questions Max asks, Golovkin has no idea what he just said, and he just does the best he can. But yeah, I agree with you completely in terms of the. I just laughed when they said that the CompuBox operators are keeping track from New York.
Right, we could do it here.
In other words, we shouldn't really be thinking about accuracy at all.
Right.
With that, because I mean, to me, that's sort of foolish.
I mean, listen, we might as well do that here. You know, we might as well keep track. And then what makes it even worse is Jim Lampley's talking about it, and he's ringside. You know, and he's going by what the CompuBox says. You know, so crazy stuff. But anyway, I appreciate your thoughts, Alex, and we look forward to you during the week, and we already got our blast, right? We decided Costa Zoo. We were going to do him a few weeks ago, and somehow I got sidetracked into the early 1900s, and we did a few there, which were fun. But we'll get back into modern times this week.
That's right. We're leaping ahead about 80 years.
Yeah, about 80 years. That's right. That's right. All right, brother.
All right, Billy.
I'll talk to you soon.
Care.
That's Alex Pali. You can check him out on Wednesdays when he and I talk about the blast from the past. So, hey, listen, we got the phone lines open. I want to hang around for another few minutes. So if you want to call, as long as you're calling, I'll stick around longer. But if not, 845-228-8710. What's next for Triple G? That's the question. That's today's question. What is next for this guy? You know, I hate to mention his name, all right? But and we're going to be talking a lot about, the fight, all right, next week. But, I don't want to, pat ourselves on the back here from the Billy C family. But we told you guys on Friday about the you-know-who against the you-know-who fight, right? But the other new you-know-who, FM, right, the guy who thinks he's you-know-what, I think, come on, you know what I'm talking about. I think that he and Triple G would be a good fight. If he gets by Manny, I think Triple G and Floyd should happen. Because if Floyd can beat Manny and Floyd beats Triple G, I'm going to be wearing TBE hats because I think we would owe the guy the accolades. You can't keep saying that Triple G is so much bigger because he's not. He's not a big middleweight. Alex, I was kidding with Alex. He was a big Sergio Martinez fan. Sergio Martinez, the thing about him was that he wasn't a big middleweight. Miguel Cotto, he's not a big middleweight. And neither is Triple G. When you look at big middleweights, Peter Quinlan's a big middleweight. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was a big middleweight. I mentioned Peter Quinlan. He's a big middleweight. Martin Murray was a fairly big middleweight. So, I thought it was comical about Jim Lampley saying a couple of times that other middleweights are going to, call and try and get the Triple G fight now that they saw some weakness in him. I disagree. The guy shows, in my opinion, he shows ring generalship. I think that his defense is underestimated. I think that people don't give him the credit. It doesn't take much to roll with a punch. You turn your head slightly, and even though the punch lands, it's rolling off. It's not doing any damage. And that's what we saw tonight with Triple G. The punches that Martin Murray did land, and keep in mind, they score. I'm not saying they don't score. And like Alex said, some of those, he scored 3 rounds for a total of 3 rounds for Martin Murray. It's not that they don't score, because they do, even, if they don't have Triple G staggering around. But I just thought that Triple G would always come back, and he does this. It's his MO. He does it with all his fights. He comes back. He doesn't want to lose a round. Even the first round, which was a feeling out round, he didn't want to lose it, and he came back and won it. The only round I gave Martin Murray was the second round. Now, the rounds that Alex was referring to, whatever it was, the 8th, 9th round or whatever, they were close. And I know that the corner of Martin Murray were cheering and people that, because the crowd supposedly was predominantly Martin Murray followers. They were cheering every time he landed a good punch. But it wasn't enough. When Triple G, and this is the thing we always talking with Larry Hazard, what's the criteria? If you're a judge and you like volume, you're going to score it for the guy who lands the most punches, whether they're little pity-pat mosquito bite punches or whether they're devastating knock-your-tooth-out punches, right? But some other judges, they have something in their head where they say to themselves, X amount of mosquito bite punches equal one knock-your-tooth-down-your-throat punch, So, to me, I think that you have to look at it, the damage that's it's inflicted. In other words, I don't believe that even if you nail one good solid punch that sends a fighter back, and that was the only punch you landed for 3 minutes, and the other fighter landed, mosquito bite punches for 2 minutes and 50 seconds of the round, I give that guy the round on my scorecard, unless it was a knockdown. In case you missed the fight, we had Triple G knock down Martin Murray not once but twice in the 4th round with body shots. Devastating body shot, put him down, winced. How he got up, our Chris called from Tampa. He says how he got up, I don't know, and it's true. Usually those types of punches are they're debilitating. I mean, you're done, and he got up and he went down again and got up and finished the round. He got busted up in the 5th round. He went down from a solid shot to his head in the 10th round. I thought that the referee missed a knockdown along the way as well. He called it a slip. I thought it was more of a knockdown. But I think the general consensus is that Martin Murray's corner should have stopped this fight a little sooner than he did. Question is, what's next for Triple G? I'm not so sure who is going to want to get in the ring, despite Jim Lampley trying to coax some of the middleweights to make phone calls. Like I was telling people, I was ringside for the ESPN Boxino tournament at the Turning Stone, and a lot of the rumor going around the Turning Stone last night was that Willie Monroe is actually going to get a shot at Triple G. My opinion on that, no disrespect to Willie Monroe, and I already said that I feel that Triple G would eat up Willie Monroe, but from a business perspective, I know Willie Monroe draws a lot of people in that area up near Turning Stone, but so would Triple G. I don't see an advantage for Triple G to fight Willie Monroe yet. The other rumor about Willie Monroe was he could fight Sergio Mora for a vacant title, and then the winner of that fight, assuming it's Willie Monroe, then maybe you could put him in with a Triple G. If Willie Monroe brings a title to the table, that changes it significantly because now Willie Monroe can make a substantial payday. But Willie Monroe, Triple G, I don't think it's a big fight. In terms of Triple G, I don't think it's a hard fight. Sergio Mora, I think Triple G kills him. Peter Quinlan, okay. I'd like to see that fight. I'm not a big fan of Quinlan, especially what he pulled. The winner of Hassam Nadam and his next fight, and who's he fighting again? They were just talking about he's fighting. It slips my mind, but the winner of that fight maybe fight Triple G. Danny Jacobs, come on, Daniel Jacobs. I don't see that. Tell you the truth, I mean, we got to see somebody fight him, right? But unfortunately, I think what we saw tonight is what we'll see. Listen, we're going to pack it in. We had the phone lines open, and they kind of slowed down. A lot of people were calling in and doing other things. Now it's still early on a Saturday night. Don't forget, we broadcast every single day from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. If you're new and you just stumbled across this post-fight show, don't forget to check us out Monday through Friday. We're the only daily 2-hour boxing talk show on the planet. So check us out. You can catch us on a radio dial near you. We're on TV. We're on the internet. We're on YouTube. You can't miss us. We got podcasts. Check it out. You can check out our website, www.billycboxing.com. And one other thing I want to mention, the big fight. We've been talking about it for 5 years. It was announced. We gave it the first announcement of it 24 hours before Floyd did. I saw an email that was written to me today that Top Rank got mad at me because I said I got inside word from Top Rank, and then Floyd got mad that leaked out, that they were under contract, that Floyd Mayweather's team was supposed to admit it, and they said we didn't tell him nothing, meaning me. And I did admit last night where I got it from at the event. So if you were at Turning Stone, you heard it. But here's the thing. If you're interested, I'm throwing this out there. If you're interested, I'm telling you right now that Billy C Boxing will be doing a Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather fight night. Okay, we're going to be doing it. We're going to be doing. We're going to analyze after each round and give you our scorecards and all of that stuff. We do very well with those types of things. But here's the thing: if you're interested in being part of an exclusive group of people that'll be with our event. Now, we haven't decided where it's going to be. We don't think it's going to be in Vegas. Vegas is already almost sold out, by the way, for this fight. In case you missed it, they have updated up all the prices of the rooms. You can't get a hotel room in Las Vegas right now for less than $500 a night, and with a 2-night minimum in Las Vegas for May 2nd. It does happen to be the Derby, the Derby weekend as well for horse racing, so a lot of people were already there. So listen, we're going to be doing an on-site someplace. We're going to be inviting an exclusive group of people. If you're interested in that and you want some details, take a minute and drop me an email, Billy@Tuckin Boxing. That's TALKINBOXING. Now, we are looking for our longtime listeners, our premium podcast subscribers, our people that interact with us in emails on a regular basis or in our chat rooms. So if you're a regular listener and you want to be part of our exclusive party that we're going to broadcast, drop me an email, Billy@Talkin Boxing. That's TALKINBOXING. We'd love to have you a part of it. You'll be part of our show. We're going to have a live audience that we want you guys to be. And it's all going to be taking place on that weekend. That's going to be a memorable, historical event between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. So if you're interested, drop me an email. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys stopping by. We love doing these post-fight shows. And like I promised, just as this year started, we will be doing a Billy C post-fight show for after every significant fight, as long as I'm in town. And we may be doing them from this studio, from other places. So make sure you mark it down. Until then, I hope to see you on a regular basis during the week and the next post-fight show. Ciao, baby.